Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya
Jayadeta Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayadeta Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayadeta Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda.
Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki Jai.
Jai.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita reading. We are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, entitled The Later Pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So, in the synopsis of the later pastimes, we are reading that Mahaprabhu is traveling from Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan. At least that's his intention. Nevertheless, we also found out from Narsimhananda Brahmachari's meditation that Mahaprabhu is not going to go beyond Kanai Natashala. So now Mahaprabhu, while traveling via Bengal, went to Vidyanagar, Vidyavachaspati's home. Then he went to Kulia, and from Kulia he went to Ramkeli, and now he is in Ramkeli. And so in Ramkeli lived Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik, who are none other than Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. And the Muslim king there, Nawab Hussain Shah, he got news about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that hundreds of thousands of people are following this mendicant sannyasi. So this king could understand this must be a very saintly person. He must be a prophet, not just any saintly person, but a prophet, right? The messenger of God who has come, right? And then he inquired from his personal associate, Keshav Chhatri. So he said that you should not disturb this mendicant because I can see that he's a prophet. Whatever activities he's doing, it shouldn't be disturbed. And then he inquired further, what do you think? Give me more information. Keshav Chhatri said, he's just an ordinary mendicant. It's just that, your Muslim servant who has informed you, he's jealous. Therefore, he's exaggerating it. Actually, he's just a mendicant going door to door, traveling to holy places. Not door to door, he's traveling to holy places and begging and living like that. And maybe 2-3 people are following him. Keshav Chhatri didn't want this Muslim king to create problems for Mahaprabhu in future. So he just dismissed. But he sent a Brahmana to Mahaprabhu to inform him to leave the place as soon as possible before he attracts more attention of the Muslim king. Now, this Nawab Hussain Shah, he treated Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik like his own brothers. So, he consulted with Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami was Dabir Khas. And he asked him about his opinion about this mendicant. What do you think about him? So Rupa Goswami said that it is your great fortune that your prophet, who is the Supreme Lord, right? The Supreme Lord, it is your great fortune that the Supreme Lord, whom you call as your prophet, has appeared in your country. This is your great fortune. Whatever success, power, prosperity that you're experiencing in life is coming by His blessing. And by His blessing, you will be more successful also, of course. And besides, why are you asking me who this person is? You should question your own mind. Why your mind? Because you are the king, and the king is a representative of the Supreme Lord. So, being a king, you should ask your mind. Your mind, in this case, Rupa Goswami is saying, your mind is the evidence of the identity of this person, of the truth of this person. So then, Nawab Hussain Shah said, in my mind, I think I have no doubt that this person is the Prophet, right? Allah. He is the Supreme Lord, like that. I have no doubt in my mind, like that. So, in this way, Rup Goswami and Nawab Hussain Shah had a conversation. Then Nawab Hussain Shah went to his inner quarters. Rupa Goswami went back to his residence. Then, secretly, in disguise, Rupa Goswami and his brother Sanatan Goswami thought about the situation, and they decided to go and see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally. So they went disguised at midnight so that nobody will know that they actually went to meet the Prime Minister and Finance Minister of Nawab Hussain Shah. About them also, we read that although they were from very high South Indian Brahmin families, but because of serving this Muslim king, actually, you know why they were serving this Muslim king? We read this in when we read the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. There, in the writing about the author of Nectar of Devotion is Srila Rupa Goswami. So there we read that they were such, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they were such exceptional personalities. Whether you take their scholarship or their wisdom, their intelligence, and also their public relations in terms of their influence on people, they were so exceptional that the Nawab wanted them to work for him. And if they did not agree to work for him, then Nawab would torture all the people, the Indian people, the Hindu community. So simply to save the people from the harassment of the Nawab, they accepted to serve the Nawab. And then he changed their names also. And because they were so uh, um, capable and so exalted, right? He really trusted them, like confided in them, and like he would trust the kingdom. For example, we see later on that he would just leave the whole kingdom to the care of Sanatan Goswami, and he would just go conquering to different places. He would be somewhere else, resting assured that Sanatan Goswami can handle the whole situation here. Like that, he really depended on them. So he changed their names also to Muslim names, Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik. So Srila Prabhupada said, serving Nawab, they had accepted all the, what do you call, um, all the customs or whatever of the Muslims. They were practically seen as Muslims with their Muslim names, their dress, and everything else. It appeared like they just followed. But of course, we know that when they went home, I mean, needless to say, the Nawab would also pay them a lot. They were in such high posts. So they had their own homes, very opulent homes. But they had these gardens around their homes, exactly like a replica of Vrindavan. So, and at home they would have Srimad Bhagavatam for them. They would have, like, or practically sit and hear Srimad Bhagavatam all the time when they are not working. So this was their private life. But when they were in office, they appeared like just Muslims. So anyway, this Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik or Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they decided to go and meet with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they planned that they'll go at midnight to meet him personally in disguise. So first they met with Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. So, and then they would scrutinize, right, who the people are they're coming to meet, and then they get the audience of Mahaprabhu. So we read up to that point yesterday. I'll just go a couple of verses before. Thus, in the dead of night, the two brothers Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incognito. First, they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that two personalities, Sri Rup and Sanatan, had come to see him. दुई गुच्छ तृण दुहे दशने धरिया गले वस्त्र बांधी पोड़े दंडवत होया. In great humility, both brothers took bunches of straw between their teeth, and each, binding a cloth around his neck, fell down like rods before the Lord. So this is, Dante Trina Dhori. Dante means teeth, Trina means grass, right? So holding grass between teeth is a sign of great submission in humility, or submission in great humility. So they didn't have just one blade of grass, they had bunches of grass between their teeth. Just understand, try to understand what is their social position. They are the, practically next to the king. Their position is next to the king, the prime minister and the finance minister. But look at their humility when they approach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They put bunches of grass between their teeth and fell down and tied a cloth around their neck, another sign of humility. And they literally fell down like a rod. When we see devotees offering Dandavat, they go down in stages. First get down on your knees and then go down slowly, isn't it? They practically fell down like a rod, Dandavat, in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. दैन्य रोदन कोरे आनंदे विह्वला प्रभु कोहे उठो उठो होइला मंगला. Upon seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers were overwhelmed with joy, and out of humility they began to cry. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to get up and assured them of all good fortune. So, what was the immediate reaction of the two brothers when they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? They were overwhelmed with joy. So, we can always remember their identities. They are manjaris, direct servants of Srimati Radharani and the Sakhis, Lalita Sakhi. So who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. They are the eternal associates. So in this pastime on this earth, now they are meeting for the first time. Of course, they had been writing to Mahaprabhu letters, but this is the first time they're actually seeing face to face in these earthly pastimes. So when they saw, they were overwhelmed with ecstasy, with joy, and they couldn't stop crying. They just, out of great humility, they began to cry. And how did Mahaprabhu reciprocate? When he was also very, very happy to see them. And he said, get up, get up. They were on the floor, on the ground, offering Dandavata obeisances. Get up, right? Mahaprabhu is saying, get up, get up. And he assured them all good fortune, right? Hoilo Mangala, all auspiciousness unto you, right? Uthi dui bhai tabe dante trina dhori, dainya kori stuti kore, karayoda kari, karayoda, folded hands like this. And they began to glorify the Lord. The two brothers got up and again, taking straw between their teeth, they humbly offered their prayers with folded hands. What did they say? Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dayamay Patita Pavana Jaya Jaya Mahashay. So this is a prayer by the brothers Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dayamay Patita Pavana Jaya Jaya Mahashay. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful savior of the fallen souls. All glories to the Supreme Personality. So they were, of course, you see, sometimes by the power of Yoga Maya, just so that the pastime can unfold nicely, sometimes Yoga Maya covers the knowledge of the devotees. But otherwise, the Nitya Siddha devotees, they're always conscious. They're always conscious that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even though they were meeting Mahaprabhu for the first time in this life, they were of course aware. So they were like Rupa Goswami is praying, uh, all glories to the Supreme Personality. Yeah. The most merciful Savior of the fallen souls, all glories to the Supreme Personality. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. नीच जाति नीच संगी कोरी नीच काज तुम्हारा अग्रेते प्रभु कहिते वासी लाज. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, Neech Jati. So why Neech Jati? Actually, they were great Brahmins, Saraswat Brahmins. Then why Neech Jati? Because we are serving the Muslims, right? Neech Jati. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, Neech Sangi. And our associates and employment are also of the lowest type. Kaj means employment, Sangha is association. So our associates and our work, they're also of the lowest type. We belong to the lowest class, and our associates are also lowest, and the type of work we do is also the lowest. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing here before you, right? Feel so embarrassed if you are a very, very lowly person and if you are standing in front of an exalted person. You can say something like, in this world, something that we can relate to. Let's say you are from a poor background, your clothes are very shabby, and here you are in a very, very wealthy person's home, with everything is like super polished and very costly. How will you feel when you're standing there? You'll feel like you feel out of place. What am I doing here? I don't fit in here. No, this is still material, but natural humility of the devotee. So the humility, I'm just trying to give you what is the humility that they were feeling. So they're saying we are low class people. Our work is low class. Our associates, the people that we work with, are all low class. We are from a very, very fallen condition, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Right? That's your position. You're the greatest, and we are the lowest. And they're standing in front of him. So we're feeling ashamed to even stand here before you. Right? How can we even stand in front of you like that? Great humility, dainyata. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you, right? We feel very much ashamed standing here before you. Purport. Although the two brothers Rupa and Sanatan, at that time Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik, presented themselves as being born in a low family, they nonetheless belonged to a most respectable Brahmana family that was originally from Karnataka. Thus, they actually belonged to the Brahmana caste. Unfortunately, because of being associated with the Muslim governmental service, their customs and behavior resembled those of the Muslims. Therefore, they presented themselves as Neech Jati. The word Jati means birth, right? Ja, Janma, Ja. Ja means birth. Jati. The word Jati means birth. According to Shastra, there are three kinds of birth. The first birth is from the womb of the mother. The second birth is the acceptance of the reformatory method. Reformatory method means Diksha. Uh, like Upanayanam or Diksha. So first birth is birth from the mother, biological mother. Second birth is acceptance of the reformatory method. Reformatory method is samskara. Okay. So second birth is not diksha, samskara, like upanayana samskara, right? That is the second birth. So when sometimes like there are no samskaras in Kali Yuga, everyone is born. Not just in Kali Yuga. Janmana jayate shudra samskarat bhavet dvija. So when there is a Vedic culture, Vedic society, there will be samskaras even before birth, and then at the time of birth, all the way up to giving up the body. There are samskaras, and these samskaras purify a person, bring him to the level of a human being, elevate the consciousness of a person. So therefore, first birth is directly taking birth from the mother. Second birth is through samskaras. When someone undergoes samskaras, then that is considered second birth. So you can also say the Upanayan ceremony, that is the second birth. And then there is a third birth. The third birth is acceptance of the spiritual master. This is spiritual initiation. You accept a spiritual master to progress in bhakti. So that is the third birth. One becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession. That is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said that the whole society should be guided by the principles of pure devotional service. That means the government, the arrangement should be made by the government itself. The Daiva Varnashram society means it's for the whole entire society. And the goal should be, the whole society should be guided by the principles of pure devotional service. Otherwise, what happens if you're not living by the principles of uh, the scriptures? Sometimes, I think I told you in the past, Varnashram is also different types of Varnashram. Not simply Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. If somebody followed this, then this is a, Varnashram. That's not the highest Varnashram. You can have Karmi Varnashram. You can have Varnashram system like a Jnani Varnashram, where the goal of Varnashram society is to get liberation, go and merge into Brahman. That was during the time of Shankaracharya. Karmi Varnashram means you follow, like the Smartas, as you say. That is Karmi Varnashram. You follow the Varnashram system so that you can go to heaven, you can enjoy. There's Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but their goal is material enjoyment by following the Varnashram system. That's Karmi Varnashram. Jnani's Varnashram means the society is following the Varnashram system with the goal of going and merging, liberation. But that's not what is required here. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us is Daiva Varnashram. Daiva Varnashram means Varnashram system followed for the purpose of entering into pure devotional service. That is Daiva Varnashram. That is required. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is writing that one becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. So now think about the lifestyle in today's world. What type of professions we are doing and what type of people are we associating with. So when we do that, what happens? Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami were born in very high class Brahmin families. But because of association and because of work with low class people, then they also will get affected. Of course, when you're doing pure devotional service, then it's not applicable to them. This is just their humility. But it is applicable to us, certainly, because we are not on the platform of pure devotional service yet. Right? So when we do pure devotional service, then, like we were reading yesterday in Srimad Bhagavatam, those who are very, very powerful, sins cannot touch them. No contamination can touch them, like sun. Even when the sun comes in touch with stool and urine, it cannot contaminate the sun. So those who are very, very powerful in bhakti, they won't be affected. Obviously, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami being the eternal associates of the Lord, they wouldn't be affected by this. But great personalities, they set example for everyone else. So when they're saying this, they're actually telling us about our position also, right? Of course, their natural humility, great devotees always consider themselves worthless. So, but the important lesson point here is one becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. Rup and Sanatan, as Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik associated with Muslims who were naturally opposed to Brahminical culture and cow protection. Yes? Uh, so, killing cows and eating their meat, that's just one. And there are many other things which are against Brahminical culture. So, and Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami had accepted service under them. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification, right? We saw after Prahlad Nishingadev's appearance and Prahlad Maharaj is offering prayers, the whole episode of Nishingadev's appearance and Prahlad Maharaj's glorification, all that is over. Then Narad Muni is speaking to Yudhishthir Maharaj and telling about the duties of human beings. So there he tells what are the duties of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi and women. There are chapters talking about the duties. So here it is said that in Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification. A person is identifiable by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. How do you know who is a Brahmana? By the symptoms. There are qualities. There's a definition of a Brahmana, one who has these qualities. If you find those qualities in a person, you can identify him as a Brahmana or a Brahmachari or like that. So, a person is identifiable by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. By one's symptoms, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both Dabir caste and Sakar Malik belong to the Brahmana caste. But because they were employed by Muslims, their original habits degenerated into those of the Muslim community. Right? We can also see in the current day, present day situation also, those Indians who were raised here and they have certain practices that they learned from their families, just daily practices, right? About cleanliness or about purity, taking bath and worship and everything, whatever they were raised with, once they go to the West, they adopt the Western means, right? Washing hands after eating, no, and eating with left hand, things like that, and you just accept it as this is normal, right? You adopt, you by association you are becoming degraded, you are adopting uh, the practices, the lower practices. So by one's symptoms, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both Dabir caste and Sakar Malik belong to Brahman caste, but because they were employed by Muslims, their original habits degenerated to those of the Muslim community. Since the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil, they identified themselves with the lowest caste. In the Bhakti Ratnakar, it is clearly stated that because Sakar Malik and Dabir caste associated with lower class men, they introduced themselves as belonging to the lower classes. Actually, however, they had been born in respectable Brahmana families. So their habits had also changed, their dress had changed, and their customs and behavior, everything had changed by associating with the Muslims. That's the point. So association is very important. And also what type of work we are doing is also important. That has an influence. In one class I had heard, in today's society, several times this question comes up. How do we know if I'm a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra in today's society? On what basis? So one simple answer was, how are you getting your money? That decides. That means work. It is said here, right? Association and employment. Neech kaj and Neecha, of course Neecha Jati by birth, but also a Neecha Sangha and Neecha Kaj. That means your work with which you are earning your livelihood, what type of work you are doing, which is running your livelihood, that also decides what Jati you belong to. Jati means not jati, what varna you belong to. So, yeah, if you're teaching, then again, if you want to go into the details, what is it that you're teaching? And that is what is maintaining you. Brahmanas generally they teach and they don't charge any fees, but the students they bring them their maintenance, whatever groceries or whatever they need. It's just provided by the students and the village in general. The community will maintain them, and they also not that because they're getting so many gifts now they'll just pile everything up. No, they will only accept the basic minimum that they need for their maintenance, and the rest they give away again as charity. They don't keep more. That's a brahmana. Is anyone living by that standard today? Okay, if they are, then you can say this is a brahmana. And again, kshatriya is not just somebody who is in the military or something, because military also they are again accepting salaries, right? Kshatriya is he who gives protection and he collects taxes for that protection. So he's not working under anyone. He's the person in power. He's collecting by his strength, by his might. That's a kshatriya. I heard once in by His Holiness from His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. uh, He had taught Bhakti Shastri when we were living in New Vrindavan. So he taught some chapters. The third chapter of Bhagavad Gita he had taught us. So Maharaj had said there are no kshatriyas in the world today. Even if there may be one or two, they will be living somewhere in the Himalayas, in the jungles, because they cannot come and live here in the society. A Kshatriya cannot live under another person. He cannot live under another person, right? Accepting employment, no. He will come, he'll fight, and he'll occupy, and he will rule, and he will charge taxes. That's a Kshatriya. So there are no Kshatriyas. And then he said, Vaishyas, even Vaishyas, what is the idea of Vaishyas? Not just businessmen. Vaishya means he will produce and the excess he will trade. And he's producing food and he's protecting cows. This is a Vaishya. And whatever excess he will trade. But of course, Maharaj said there may be some Vaishyas, but primarily the society is filled with Shudras. Everyone takes employment. So if we think about all of us also, depending on how we are maintaining ourselves, we can just see what we are, right? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Yeah. So, of course, make the devotional service is transcendental, pure devotional service is transcendental, and somehow or other we are in this situation, make the best use of a bad bargain. It's not that first you wait until you start, you become a Brahmana and then you'll start devotional service. It is not at all like that. Just take to this process, but meanwhile, don't justify that. Well, this is Kali Yuga, it's not possible, so we'll just, and we start making our plans how to increase our empire, right? I'll do this one more business and I'll do more work so that I'll earn more money, and with that money now I will build a palace and this and that. And as devotees, we should not do that, because the type of work we are doing itself is against. It is against the system given by the Supreme Lord. Somehow or other, we are stuck in this situation. So that is why again and again, you know, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, everyone is saying, simplify your lifestyle, simplify. Then when you simplify your lifestyle, what happens is your dependence on this type of bad association and bad work will reduce. The more you are depending less on these things, the mode of goodness will increase. The more you associate with the lower modes, when you're associating with this type of work and this type of people, the modes of passion and ignorance are increasing. A result of the mode of ignorance is moha. Moha means illusion. You will be in illusion. And from illusion comes, you remember that verse 727, Ichchadvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata, right? So when you are in the mode of ignorance, there is moha. Moha means illusion. What is that illusion? That that which is pleasing to my senses, I like, I want. That which is, which is not favorable to my senses, I hate that. I avoid that. I hate it. And by this desire and hate, we enter into this moha towards these dualities. And this will result in atyasakti. Atyasakti means intense attachment, very strong attachment. So you may say, what's the problem if there's intense attachment? The problem is, this is called sammoha. From moha comes sammoha. And when there is sammoha, that person is not eligible. He cannot do pure devotional service. When you are in sammoha, you don't have the qualification to do pure devotional service. Too much attachment. Someone who has too much attachment for material things, he's only eligible to do karma. Because to fulfill those material desires, attachment means material desires. To fulfill those material desires, you will have to do karma. You cannot do bhakti. So therefore our acharyas say again and again, you simplify your lifestyle. Simplify as much as possible. And what is the standard given by Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam gives the basic standard, minimum. So you cannot go below that. Bhagavatam says, simply you work to keep your body and soul together. That's all. Keep your body and soul together means just eat that much so that you don't die. So that your soul can remain in this body. And then other things also. Sleep that much so that you don't die. If you don't get that much sleep, then you will die. Mating and defending. Prabhupada said in his young age he already gave up. No need of mating and defending. He gave it up already. This is the standard. If we want to enter into pure devotional service, this is the standard. So, point is association is very important. In that, so what happens when so you want to come out of this mode of ignorance. So how can you come to the mode of goodness then? Those who do engage in punya karma. Punya karma means, of course, it has to be done through the Vedic injunctions, right? So when one does punya karma, yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Yesham tvantagatam papam. So by doing punya karma, what happens is mode of goodness is increasing. And proportionately, as goodness increases, like you have a glass of water, right? Let's say there is 3/4 milk or 3/4 water, 1/4 milk. Now, if you increase 1/4 milk to half milk, naturally water will also have to go down to half. It won't be 3/4 anymore, isn't it? So, like that, now we are primarily in the mode of ignorance because of association and work. But when you do punya karma, what happens is that mode of goodness increases. When goodness increases proportionately, passion and ignorance will reduce. When ignorance reduces, because the result of ignorance is illusion, and illusion results in intense attachment. When ignorance reduces, your attachment will also reduce. That's why we have to live in the mode of goodness. So mode of goodness means simple lifestyle, simple lifestyle. Less machines or no machines, right? Less, reducing everything. So when that's a favorable atmosphere, then what happens in that atmosphere when you are in the mode of goodness, with slight little bit of association of devotional service, you'll take it up very nicely and you will be progressing like anything. You get some association. Now, because we are in the modes of passion, even if we get association, as long as we are there in the association, we are hearing something and again we go back and once again we get caught up in that. It's a struggle every time. You get some association and you go back. But if you are in the mode of goodness primarily, then somehow or other, why? Because it is by the, so when you get the association of devotees, in essence, then you take to devotional service and very quickly you'll start progressing. Te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. You will start your devotional service, you will start your devotional service, bhajan, and very quickly you will cross through anartha nivritti, and now you will be fixed in dridhavrata. There, dridhavrata means you are nishtha, right? Your devotional service is not fluctuating anymore. You are in nishtha, pure devotional service platform. So therefore, mode of goodness is also important. Although devotional service is transcendental, but for those who are actually, which is most of the people, who are under the influence of modes of passion, this, that's why follow the 4 rules and regulations. Sometimes devotees say that's not pure devotional service. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. That is not devotional service. Devotional service means just no, that brings you to the mode of goodness. When you are in the mode of goodness, then it brings you to the human platform. Srila Prabhupada said no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex brings you to the mode of goodness, to the human platform. And then when you get association, when you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and of course, because devotional service is transcendental, when there is a very powerful devotee, like when Srila Prabhupada came, people were in the deepest modes of ignorance, the hippies, but he could just like a touchstone, he could turn them from iron to gold by his power, by his bhakti. When somebody is extremely powerful like that. But if you are in the modes of goodness, even if you don't get that type of powerful association, even you get little bit of devotee association, that really helps you progress. So that's what is important. So Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami as Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik, of course, as I told you, they are eternal associates. It's not that they are contaminated. But this is an important lesson that is being taught. That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport. That because they were associating with the Muslims, they had degraded in their habits. Although they were from very high Brahman families, born in very high South Indian Brahman family, but their habits were degraded, their customs and everything was degraded. Therefore, they introduced themselves as belonging to a low class. So we will stop here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we will be reading Caitanya Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.